Welcome guys to Coding Science. Today we'll make a small video on what the array is. We'll keep it short, so we'll just take a look at the concept. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so we're interested to know what an array is, but first let's go a little step back and see quickly what a variable is. Now I have made a video on the variable, and I would absolutely recommend you to take a look at it. I will put the link in the description. But quickly said, a variable is a container. It's a place on it's one space on your memory where you assign a name and a type, and you can store information. Now, so why am I saying this? Because the array is actually the most fundamental way of making a collection of variables of the same type. So when I say a collection, it's like this. It's easy to see. It's, for example, here you're making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 space on your array. Okay. So there are a few things that is important to remember. The first one is that it's a fixed size. Fixed size. What does that mean? Well, when you create your array at the start of your program, you use something similar to this. Let's say, for example, here we're working with integers. You can see the type is integer. So you'll use something like this. For example, brackets to say this is an array. You will give it a name. We call it here my array. There we go. And then you use something like that. That really depends on the language. I'm not language specific here, just giving you an example. So new int, okay, and then you would give it a size here. So this would be 6. Now, in most languages, creating an array requires that you put a size to your array. And most often it's not possible to put a dynamic size. So you can't put a variable here always that says that it's gonna vary. The system is made so that they need to know how much space they need to allocate for your array on your memory. We'll come back to that a little bit after. Now, see, this is important. So fixed size, it doesn't change. You can put numbers in here. You can put 1, 2, 3, and then up and fill it. And as long as you don't try to fill it over, this should be fine. Okay. So the next thing that you need to know is that the array, number 2, the array use pointers. So what is a pointer? Because, okay, so the question is around pointers is if you have a few values here, and when you use the name myArray, how can you say I want to have this number here in this cell? I mean, if you have 2, 3, 7, 1, and 5, and you're interested to get that information, but not the others. I mean, you don't want to go through all of them all the time. And just how can you do that? Well, that's when the brackets come into place. You would say, for example, so here you would use the pointer. That's the number of the pointer. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here would be 4. Okay. And then you would access that cell. Now you can do something like this, say equal 5, and then it puts 5 in that cell, or you could do something on the opposite side. If you make it that way here, you would say x equal that, then suddenly you would have a small variable alone by itself that is called x. It's also an integer. Let's be correct and put this. That will take the value 5 from this at the pointer. So the pointer here is using the indexes. So the indexes are 1, 2, 3. There we go. Sorry, 4 and 5. Okay, so 3 here. And those numbers, as you can see, it starts by 0. So the first cell of the array is at 0. Okay, it does not start at 1. So if you want your first number in your array, you need to put 0 here, not 1. So if you have a cell of 6, the last cell would be then 6 minus 1, which is 5. Now, why do we start at 0? That's a good question. Why don't we start at 1? Well, the idea is we're working with memory here, right? Because you're assigning on your memory a place where you're going to hold all that information. So let's make a representation of that memory. And you see here it will hold a space. Now this cell here is kind of it's the start address. Okay, so, and it will have a number. Usually we use hexadecimal numbers, but to make it simplified, let's say we have the number 352. Okay, just to make it simple. So this array starts at the address 352, cell number 352. What does the array do? Well, if you're gonna go to the first cell, you're gonna call my array, which is here 352, okay? And then you're gonna add the index. So here, if you add the index, if you want the first cell, you're gonna add the index 0, which is then 352, okay? So it goes at that address and picks the number 2 and give it back, okay? Now, if you want to access the cell number 3, then it does, let's say if you want to have the number 7 here, number 3, it adds then the number 2. So what you do is you have 352 plus 2, which is equal to 354, okay? Which becomes then, so this is 352, 353, 354 here. 354, and that is where you get your 7. Okay, so you have 3, 7, 1, and 5. I just noticed that I miss one RAM. This is, let's make this proper. If I got some orange here, something, let's do it in red. It's okay. Okay, so this should go here. There we go, and the cell should go like that. That's great. So, and then you would have the, let's see, you would have empty cell in here. Okay, so that is how it works. Now this is why you also have you start with 0 and you work your way up to the last number, that is then the n size minus 1. Now what happens if you're trying to have a number that a number bigger than the size of your array? Well, if you make a call something like my array, okay, my array, oops, sorry, let's go back. Let's just do like this, there. So my array with brackets, let's say 17, for example. And you want to put this in X. Okay. So what happens then? Well, it starts at 352, I mean, sorry, plus 17. And then what happens there? Well, it goes up and up and up and up, and it keeps going up. But as you can see here, you're outside of your boundary, you're outside of your array. So you might get a value that is completely disconnected to something else. It's maybe, I mean, those areas are used in your computer. It can be used either in your program for something else, or it can actually be used by something completely different, like another runtime, another thing on another program that is running on your computer. So you would get a value that is completely wrong. Now, most systems protect you against this. So what you get here, you get an error, you get an error. This won't be possible. You will give a message back that is an error, okay? And usually they will call it out of bound. out of bound error. And that's usually what it's called. And that means that you're trying to reach something outside of your array. And that is why we say that the array is actually a fixed size, because your system needs to know how much space is saved on your RAM and where all the things are located. It needs to know that this is not going to change, because if you're trying to change dynamically your array, what happens is that you're trying to create up, but maybe this space is already taken by something else, or you're trying to go down and something else. So it makes things complicated. Well, there are ways that those things are handled, and you can use lists that are dynamic, and this is handled differently. And there are ways you could, for example, take a whole copy, create a new array of a new size, bigger, copy all the cells and put it back in the new array, and then you would have, under the same name, you would have a new address, a new number here, located somewhere else on your memory with a bigger array. From your point of view, that wouldn't change anything, but technically you just erased this one and made a new array. So this is fixed size, and we're using pointers to navigate through up and down the array. Now the pointers are very useful. They can also be used in loops. You could do something like a loop, loop like for I equals 0 until I is inferior to 6, while is inferior to 6, and then for each loop you will end with doing I equal I plus 1. Then it will increment, so you start at 0 and you do your stuff here, and then what you do here, you're running your computer, and you do, for each step you're doing something with the number, so you're visiting each of the cells in your loop. So the array is very useful. It can be used at many things, through many things. So here I am not focusing on the coding. This part here we can go through more in details when we're working with specific languages and adapt it when I'm going to make videos for example, Python or C#, or we'll see. But the main idea here is to understand how it works. Okay, not the details, but more the concept. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, please subscribe. And I will be coming with new videos regularly. I hope to see you soon. Have a nice day.